Today I'm going to be speaking about how to get Magento 2 certified and with that bring value to a company and the team. And yeah, so let's start. My name is Alex. I'm project manager at Atwix. And today's agenda is a little bit different from for those of you who know me, you may know that I had similar talk on Dare to Share meetup, but today agenda is a little bit different. In some places it's quite different, so we're gonna talk more about certification itself. We're gonna talk about what questions are there, what kind of knowledge you need to pass. Then we're gonna overview the preparation practices and review how it's best to behave during the exam. And then we talk a little bit about how it all brings value to you personally and to your company and the team. So yeah, with that, let's start. And about Magento 2 certifications. So first, guys, put your hands up, those of you who are certified as Magento 2 specialists, or yeah, so 2 people in the room. And who of you, I suppose if you come here, you are planning to do that, so raise your hands, those of you who plan to be, everybody's planning, cool. Cool. In terms of certifications, Magento has a really good stack for Magento 2. So we have solution specialist, which we're gonna cover a little bit deeper today. We have professional developer, we have associate developer, we have professional front-end developer, and we have professional JavaScript developer. So that's a lot of certifications. We also have Professional Developer Plus coming, I think later this year or early next year. It's not official, but for those of you who follow Magento Twitter, you may know that Magento U team is already working and they had workshop in London, I guess. They are working on Professional Developer Plus certification, which is gonna cover like enterprise features, not only open source. And talking more about certifications, I recently had a conversation with Kalen Jordan. You may know him. He's co-host of MageTalk podcast, and also he's co-owning commercehero.io. That's a resource where let's say Magento merchants and agencies may find Magento developers to hire. And talking with him about certifications, he mentioned that with Magento 2, certifications became much more valuable. So with Magento 1, certification was more like covering theoretical part of Magento development. With Magento 2 certifications, he said that if a person has professional developer certification badge, that means that the person is at least a good candidate to consider to be hired as a middle or senior developer, which is obviously a great result for Magento to put together such an amazing certification that can, I mean, challenge people and mean something for people who are looking for developers. But yeah, talking more about, today we're not going to cover developer certifications, we're going to talk about solution specialist certification. And yeah, put your hands up, you guys who know what is Magento 2 Certified Solutions Certification, what it's all about. Yeah, so yeah, let's see what's in it. First, yeah, Magento 2 Solution Specialist Certification is not only for non-technical people, it's basically for every person working with Magento Shop. And areas of knowledge that are in this certification are, so first, there are a lot of stuff about e-commerce in general, so that's very helpful for developers and merchants and QA engineers, so for everybody. Then there are 24% of questions are about Magento 2 architecture. By Magento 2 architecture, of course, this certification is not covering anything about development practices. It is more about Magento structure. So the question is going to be about like Magento website, store, and store views structure, how you can leverage this to build a reliable and great e-commerce experience. So then 30% of the questions are about Magento 2 features and functionality. And this part is very, very important for everybody. So once again, it seems like it's more for non-technical people. But when you think about development, it is really helpful to understand what features and functionality are already out there in Magento 2 to be able to extend and develop around them and to be able to leverage the features that you already have. And then 23% of questions are about applying Magento 2 to knowledge and business goals, which is also extremely important for everybody because working with Magento Store, we're not just developing some module or we're not just putting together some piece of functionality. We basically trying to achieve some business goal. And knowing how it is best to do this or that piece of functionality using Magento 2 is really, really important. So that's about areas of knowledge that you need to be expert at. Then the exam itself. So as all Magento certifications, I think that's applicable for all Magento certifications. It will take you 90 minutes to complete. But there will be 75 questions, all of them going to be multiple choice questions, so you don't need to type the answer. You will have choices to select from, and some of them going to have multiple answers to choose. Some of them going to have only a single right answer to complete. And as it is right now with all Magento 2 certifications, the exam can be done online, which is great opportunity for people, for example, working remotely in some, small town, or so you don't need to travel anywhere. Because when I was passing this certification, it was not possible to pass it online, so I had to go. Actually, I had to pass it 2 times because first time I failed. And it took me basically 2 days to become Magento 2 certified. Now it would take me 3 hours. So because 2 days, you need to travel somewhere, then you pass the exam, then you travel back. So it's like you don't work basically during these hours. And that's the exam overview. And Magento products that you're going to be asked about during this exam are first Magento 2 open source product. There are also questions, and actually when we talk about Magento features and functionality, there are more questions about Magento 2 commerce. And these questions will include Magento B2B modules. So in case you don't have like projects where you have B2B modules or where you use Magento 2 commerce features, it is a good idea to ask your employee who you work with, like your agency, or you can talk to folks in Magento Slack and request a demo store with Magento Commerce where you can click through these features, and that's going to be a great preparation practice. So then business intelligence. So Magento Business Intelligence is included to this certification, and there are a lot of questions based on this product, and Magento Order Management. So feel free to check out Magento documentation on these products to be prepared. And talking more about preparation. Who of you guys love exams? Cool. That's a good skill to love the exams. But I think most of us are a little bit anxious about passing the exam, and but it really takes good preparation practices and some good tips and tricks to prepare and feel more relaxed and more convenient in your capabilities. And let's go through some of them, how you can prepare. So first, my question is to you guys. What do you think is the best way to prepare for the exam? Any ideas? So you have these 75 questions, yeah.
Technical practice, I guess.
Yeah, technical practice. So you would take Magento, for example, admin. You will have Magento instance. You will click through admin functionality. You will see the storefront, right? Yeah, I mean, if we talk about developer certification, of course, you will take some tasks to work on the modules. Any other ideas? How would you prepare? Read documentation. Yeah? No? Okay, so yeah, basically the practice is very good answer. So practice is really important. Also, reading documentation and reviewing Magento dev docs is also a great idea. But there is another way, and when I was preparing for the exam, I registered for the Solution Specialist exam as soon as it became available. So I registered. It was the beginning of I think it was February of 2018, and I selected the passing date to be in March. So I had like 3 months to prepare. And what I was doing during the first 2 months, I think I was playing PlayStation, basically. So it was a really good preparation practice. My mind was totally relaxed. So you can say that I was preparing to prepare. Then, when it was like 1 month left for the passing event, I pushed really hard. I pushed my limits and I prepared for 1 hour per week. That's a joke. That's not a lot. So 1 hour per week is giving you basically nothing because there are a lot of features, a lot of functionality that you need to review. And yeah, as with all of us procrastinators, when it was 1 week left, then I really started preparing and I took the study guide, I went through it, I did some efforts, but there was only 1 week left. So what I managed to do was only to read half of the study guide. And occasionally, the questions that I failed during my first try was from the second part of the study guide that I never actually even saw. So for me, the practice that I learned was that to fail it, to pass it, you need to fail it first, because first what you get is kind of motivation, because you already spent $260 on that exam, and you kind of want this badge that you already paid for, so you actually want to pay a little bit more and try once again. Then you get this feeling of what you don't know. So when you already passed the exam, you know your weak points, what questions you need to study harder, and you're already kind of more prepared for the second try. And from the second try, I passed, and yeah, it was my way of samurai. But there are another practices that can prepare you to be able to pass it from the first try. So yeah, first we have a lot of study guides. Magento U study guide, Swift Order study guide. So these are really good for preparation. If we talk about Swift Order study guide, folks did an amazing job, so feel free to visit their website. You can find really good study guides there, as well as questions that you can practice with. I think before they were for free, now you have to pay like $20 per month to be able to have access to all the questions, and yeah, that's great. By the way, what time we finish? Because 11:30, cool. So Magento U study guide, on the other hand, is really good for the final stages of preparation, because in Magento U study guide you have all the questions that you got, not the questions, but basically areas of knowledge, areas of expertise that you're gonna have on the final exam. You have all them listed. So on the final stage, it's really good idea to go through them and detect what areas you are not really comfortable with, and then you have this chance to review them. So that, these are two study guides that I highly recommend. Go check them out. Then Magento U courses. This part is really good, and Magento done a tremendous amount of work preparing really good materials for preparation. So first, when going to u.magento/merchants marketers, you will find Managing Your Magento 2 Store course that you can take, and it will basically walk you through Magento 2 functionality that you need to be aware of to be prepared for this certification. Then there you will find free video library, which is obviously free, and there are a lot of videos in how-to style. So different guys from community were asked to contribute to this library. So there you can find like videos how to schedule updates in Magento 2, how to edit product information, how to create Magento users, and so on and so on and so on. So this is very, very helpful for, I think, beginners. And also, if you go through this video library and you find some videos that you're not really sure how that works, it is a good idea to check them and see how it works. Also, mentors. This probably could be another topic to speak of, because mentors is a huge deal for us at Atwix. And talking about mentors, so mentors are basically people who already passed the exam and they want to share their knowledge and help other people to prepare. And these mentorships are done on a weekly basis. So basically, if a person is preparing for the exam, he or she gonna learn by himself or herself, and then at some point during the week, she or he gonna have a call with her mentor. And on this call, it is possible to ask all the questions that you are not really sure about. You can ask for some advice, and for a lot of people, and we have this feedback from folks in our company, these mentorships are really valuable. So this practice gives us an opportunity to really share knowledge and help each other to be better at what we do on daily basis. So yeah, that's really important. Then during the exam, so you kind of prepared, you went through some questions, you went through study guides, you checked video library, you failed your first try to pass the exam, now you're ready to pass it. So how would you do that? So first thing that you will notice when you start passing the exam, that's going to be questions. So obviously there are questions in the exam, and dealing with them is the most important part. So first advice that I would like to give is save long and complex questions for later. I think those of you who finished university knows what I'm talking about. When you have 100 questions, you kind of know that if you skip this complex question, you may find something useful regarding these questions later on. So, for example, if you have a question about, is there schedule changes functionality in Magento open source, something like that. And then you may find some question later on that says, that schedule changes is a part of Magento Commerce product, which will help you to answer the first question. So that's the first advice. Second is that first instinct is usually the right one. What that means is that like you need to understand that exam creators, they were not intended to like make you fail the exam. So basically what they wanted to do is to put together useful questions that when answered can prove that you really know the Magento functionality or know how to apply it to business goals, or you are really a good expert in e-commerce sphere. So if you read the question and you find the right answer in answers, so that means that this is the right one. Go with that. Don't try to overthink. Don't try to like overcomplicate things. So usually when you see the right answer, this is the one. And also there are scenario-based questions in the exam, and answering them can also be tricky because here with scenario-based questions, your experience is really, really important, because when answering some questions about Magento architecture or when answering questions about Magento 2 functionality, you can easily find answers in documentation, for example, or you can find answers in admin. So it is much more easier to prepare. But when it comes to scenario-based questions, these questions are intended to challenge your experience. And here, the most valuable advice, I think, is try to think not from your experience standpoint, but from the exam creators' standpoint. Try to understand what they are asking you for. Try not to add additional details to the question that are not really in that question. So answer the question that you have. Don't put your personal experience first and answer it from that standpoint. That's the advice. And yeah, when you pass in the exam online, you will need software, and this software are going to be provided to you by Magento team right after your registration, but be aware that you cannot install this software on Linux computer, so you will need Mac or Windows. And you will need a HD webcam, which is really important because you cannot really use your built-in webcam. The online process will require you to have like standalone device that you should put nearby, and for this webcam, your hands and your laptop should be visible. So yeah, that's really important. And yeah, you will need 1.5 hours of free time, and you will need a quiet room where no one will interrupt you. And this is really important, I mean, the quiet room, because from our experience when, for example, so let's imagine two situations. First, you're trying to pass, you pass in the exam in certified certification center, which means that you will obviously have examinator who will help you should any problems occur. You will also have stable internet connection. You will have lights being on, and you will have all that stuff that not challenging you to pass. But when doing that at home, for example, you may have a not stable internet connection. And you may want to fix the router, but you cannot really stand and fix the router. So your intent, your first intent might be like, call your wife or your husband and ask, can you please fix the router? But then when a person appears in your room, and this is visible for the examinator who is watching you through the webcam, it will be the reason to end the exam, and like, you will basically fail your try, and you will need to buy another voucher. So this is really important. If you have a buggy router, buy a new one and just, I mean, make sure you have everything set up and prepare, and tell the people you live with that please don't interrupt me during these 1.5 hours. I will be doing really important stuff that costs me $260. So yeah. Also, that's how we done it in our Atwix office. So to help people pass the exam, we put together a room with a laptop, with all the software pre-installed. There is also a webcam. Nothing is visible on this photo, despite this door sign saying Magento 2 Certification Solution Specialist Exam. But believe me, a laptop and webcam, everything is there. Everything is set up to be used. So yeah, and we use this room as, let's say, shared space where our remote workers can come and pass the exam, or people working from office can do that. So yeah, that's really convenient. And yeah, but anyway, no matter how hard you prepare, some troubles may occur, and troubleshooting practices are also important. So the first thing that you may need to troubleshoot is missed time slots. So when you register for the exam, it's not possible to choose the time slot in your local time. So what you need to do is to, I think the time slots are in Central Pacific, so you will need to convert to your local time. And especially for non-technical folks, it might be a challenge, because you need to like add 7 hours or something like that. It's really, really hard to add 7 hours to some time. And yeah, try to do that correctly. But if you miss the time slot, it's not a problem, because you can reach out to Magento U team and request a new voucher. So that's not a real problem, but be aware that it is possible. Yeah, another one is someone entered the room. That's the case that I talked to you before. In that case, unfortunately, you cannot do nothing. So you will need to pay for one more try. So be really attentive with that. And technical issues. In our case, we had a poor internet connection. We had problems with electricity in the office in few cases, but that's fine. That's refundable, and you may reach out to Magento U, describe the situation, and in most cases, they will provide you an additional voucher, and you'll be able to pass the exam one more time. With that, the final section is what is there for you. And yeah, there were a lot of hands in this room saying that you guys want to pass the certification, and I really want to ask you why. What is there for you? Why you seeking to be certified? Yeah, any people want to share? Anybody? So everybody wants to get certified and you don't know why? That's not possible.
Actually, it's needed for the company.
It's needed for the company.
For us, because it gets some more opportunities and more money.
Yeah. Okay, more money, more opportunities. So you prove to yourself that you can do that, and that's kind of approval of your knowledge. Any more thoughts on that? Okay, let's. For me, also, it was like proof to myself that I can do that, proof to myself that I know Magento. But I would differentiate, I would divide reasons to two sections. So first is, as an individual, you will start tackling the daily work differently with more points of view and perspectives. And this is really, really important for you as a specialist to be able to view tasks that you are trying to accomplish from different standpoints. So if you are, for example, a developer and you're trying to develop some module, it's really important to have a business view on that feature and understand how that's gonna work within Magento 2 scope and within the scope of each particular business. In our country, in Ukraine, it's especially important because usually we do work with the US businesses, or we work with different European businesses. And that's really important to understand the ways how different businesses leverage Magento 2 functionality to be able to deliver valuable products to them. That's the first thing. The second part of that motivation is, as a team, you will get more empathy and common ground when it comes to Magento and e-commerce. And for me, that is really, really important, because in my team, most of the people are certified already, and we target to be 100% certified team by the end of the year, which is our goal. But still, it is really great experience when you don't need to explain some business logic to developer, because developer already knows how this or that Magento functionality can be used to achieve business goals. And even developer can recommend you how to best use some Magento feature to accomplish your business goal. And this common ground, this same demand model that you all use, is really, really important for a team to be able to deliver valuable assets to the client. So that's the second part. And to wrap things up, I just want to show you the quote from Patrick Drucker. And this is my favorite quote, probably, because there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently that which shouldn't be done at all. And this is the quote that we all should remember, because from time to time, and even sometimes on a daily basis, we do things that we probably shouldn't. And it is really important to get on the same page with your team, and in that manner be able to understand each other and eliminate that not needed work, and instead be able to deliver valuable products as efficiently as possible. So with that, I just want to say thank you.